everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Thank you for joining us. My name is Vivian, and I'll be your moderator. Over the next hour, Kevin Keeler from Enable UC and Stephan Kangelis from Computer Talk will talk about contact center innovations and how you can use them to provide differentiated customer service. Some housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions, please enter them in the Q&A box. We'll get to them at the end of the presentation. And this webinar will be available on demand. You'll receive a link to it later today or tomorrow. Now let's get started, and I'll hand things over to Kevin.
Well, thank you very much, Vivian. You know, names are interesting. Call center is now contact center. Lync is now Skype for Business. And for many organizations, customer service is now called customer experience. As Vivian mentioned, my name is Kevin Keeler, and I spend my time helping organizations get the most from their communication investments. And I'm, very excited today to talk about, helping and to talk about some trends that are both challenging but also provide opportunities for organizations to get the most from their contact center. A little bit about my background. I'm originally a software developer, so that means I'm very pragmatic. I'll believe it when I see it, and a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today are really based on firsthand experience. Quite frankly, a while before, the world was simpler. As I said, a contact center was a call center, and the only mechanism that people could use to contact you was voice. Now, unfortunately, the world is a more complicated place, and voice is really no longer king of the castle. And if we look at a number of statistics that I pulled, I think we can start to see some changes. 64% of consumers with texting capabilities would prefer to use texting over voice as their customer service channel, according to one poll. And we see that, 1 in 5 of the largest global businesses is looking to introduce video-based chat, according to Gartner, sometime by 2018. And if we look at, a specific example, we have the Amazon Mayday service where you can click at least, for one-way video, and, and they're providing currently SLAs that connect you with an agent in less than 9 seconds. So lots of changes there. And 81% of consumers, are finding it frustrating to be connected, and tied to a phone or a computer for that matter while they're kind of sitting in the queue waiting, to reach a particular agent. Voice is no longer king, but in many ways, voice is maybe a prince, and really voice, along with the other modalities, are really the other princes or princesses that are each part of the royal court of what we need to deliver and what customers expect in terms of their customer experience. 38% of customers prefer to talk to customer service using email or some other, mechanism for simple issues. I like to take a look at the statistics and turn them around, because that also means that 60% of people either prefer voice or potentially voice when there's a complex issue. By 2020, if we look at it, agents are still, while they're still, going to be working on 15% of the interactions, Gartner suggests that by 2020, 85% of the relationship might happen without interacting with an actual agent. And if we look, ahead, also according to Gartner, by 2017, 1/3 of customer service interactions will still require the support of a human intermediary. So to deliver great customer service, things are more complicated, and you really need to support great voice services as a foundation, but you also need to support web chat and text and email and potentially video and social media. Of course, a number of things are driving these expectations, and one of those things is our demographic shifts. So we have the baby boomers born between 1946 and 1964, and then, although nobody can exactly agree on the years, the Gen X's, between 1960 and the 1980. Lots of talk in technology about the Gen Y, also known as millennials, because they're supposed to be changing everything. These are generally people born from the 1980s to 2000s, and then the Generation Z after 2000. Once again, the millennial generation is talked about a lot because it is the largest generation in U.S. history, and as they reach their prime working and spending years, the impact on the economy and how things are done is expected to be huge. They're really, maybe more importantly, the millennials are the first generation of what Mark Prensky in 2001 coined as the digital native. So these are people that have grown up around digital technologies, video games, personal computers, the internet. They've never known the world to, where there weren't these digital communication devices. And I think that, in addition to the digital natives, what we're starting to see is large smartphone penetration in North America. So across the board, regardless of your age, there's 64% of North Americans are using a smartphone today. And maybe that, more than, whether you're Generation X, Y, or Z, is what is driving the expectation that you should be able to use other modalities. However, another thing that is absolutely driving an expectation from two aspects is the Lync and Skype for Business adoption is growing. We see 90% of Fortune 500 companies are using Lync and Skype for Business. And in fact, most enterprises of 500 seats or more either are planning to deploy Lync, now called Skype for Business, or, and as well, most of them have plans to investigate it if they're not going to move forward with it. What this means is, as an IT professional, your organization may have already invested in Lync and Skype for Business as a platform, and you may very well therefore be asked to leverage that investment and build a contact center or contact center capabilities on top of that. But second of all, what I think this means is that callers that are connecting to your business or looking for customer support from your business, increasingly they may be using a UC client, Lync or Skype for Business, and if they do so, they may very well then expect to be able to IM you, share files, share a desktop, add audio, video, transfer files, all as part of that contact center experience. And especially because we see Lync and Skype for Business Federation growing, that's the connection between business-to-business organizations, this provides great opportunities, but it also kicks up the customer's expectations. And in order, to exceed or meet those expectations, you're increasingly being expected to provide all of those modalities. Otherwise, it's going to lead to dissatisfied customers. Obviously not a good thing. If we look at other trends that are impacting the contact center, both providing challenges as well as opportunities, certainly big data is big, and by that I mean it's incredibly popular in terms of a focus area. 51% of customer service teams right now struggle with data challenges, according to Forrester, and the similar amount, 52%, suggest that their current contact center reporting is suboptimal. Whereas, according to a Deloitte study, 87% of contact center platforms and people using that expect and need to extend their levels of reporting analytics, really to drive the focus on customer experience, because as well, according to Deloitte, 54% see an opportunity to improve productivity and efficiency by leveraging better reporting and analytics. And so, we've got contact centers providing the best single source of customer insight to marketing. And also we have a situation where, according to Gartner, by 2017, chief marketing operators will actually have more money that is being spent on IT as opposed to CIOs. So certainly, a key takeaway from this trend is make sure your contact center provides the reporting to keep your marketing stakeholders happy. contact centers really used to be mostly about business to consumer, but increasingly as organizations are deploying UC platforms and as people are interacting in their organizations to get quick answers to questions, there is increasingly the ability and the opportunity to provide business-to-business contact center capabilities to better serve your partners, as well as increase the relationships with your suppliers. And we're also seeing a rise in business-to-employee contact centers, or what I like to call resolution centers. So whether that be the traditional IT help desk, or whether it's allowing your employees to ask and get answers to HR questions, benefits questions, questions about pension or other company benefits. Certainly, in your thinking, opportunities exist much more broadly than the traditional business-to-consumer contact center. And as well as you're thinking about the interaction between the end user and the agents, much of the interaction is not only the user to agent. We saw some statistics earlier that would say, yes, the agent is still going to be involved, but there are a number of self-serve applications in the business-to-business, business-to-consumer, as well as business-to-employee, where things like IVR, which has been traditionally used, are also now automated and augmented by an automated web chat, automated instant messaging, where the end user is interacting with a bot for most of the interaction, but in some cases then the agent is there as part of the queue as an exception. So certainly from a contact center platform perspective, a number of takeaways are your contact center platform should support automated workflows, and really the value for doing that is if your platform then can reach out to the other data sources in your organization to pull information in order to guide that interaction. But the important thing about this is, because almost every contact center platform will suggest that it can interface and it can be programmed. But back to the beginning, because my background is software development, I think it's important that the platform that you choose, if you're looking to do this, is flexible and programmable with reasonable effort. So while, pretty much, so people will say, well, software can do anything, you need to make sure that the business value that you're providing, that the effort to do that doesn't exceed the value. So it is important that there is the flexibility with a reasonable amount of effort. And how do you go about achieving and leveraging some of these opportunities and working around some of these challenges? I think the contact center, what we've seen if we look at organizations that are having success with contact center deployments, it is very much like any large technology project. There are some key things that you need to do. Most of us know those things, but many organizations, for one reason or another, we don't follow through with these. And it is critically important for success in the contact center to document and prioritize your measurable business outcomes. So how are you going to measure success at the end of this contact center deployment? As well then, once you have a clear understanding of the yardstick you're going to use to measure success, it is important to look at multiple viable alternatives. Increasingly, there's many different vendors, but also the individual vendors themselves are offering more choices. So you can choose to deploy a contact center on premises, if that makes sense, potentially in the cloud, or maybe even a hybrid where some of the capabilities or some of the end user groups or workflows are handled in the cloud and some are handled on premises. As well, assembling an experienced team, this is not an area for kind of some hobby endeavor. Contact centers are of critical importance to most businesses, both from a revenue top line as well as customer retention. And then as you deploy these new capabilities, especially these multimodal capabilities, it becomes very important as well to make sure that with the agents that you understand and value the importance of the communication, the training, and the change management. I was recently working with an organization that had replaced 53 PBXs with the Microsoft UC and voice platform. And they had been successfully using the built-in mini contact center capabilities that's provided by Lync or Skype for Business response groups. But, it came to a time when they had exceeded what the reporting capabilities, they had exceeded the workflow capabilities. As well, they wanted to introduce and needed to introduce multimodal capabilities, and they needed to deploy this enhanced contact center capability in a very time-sensitive fashion. So we walked them through and we took them through this approach and evaluated multiple viable alternatives and multiple vendors. And it turned out that in this specific case, the ICE contact center from Computer Talk was in fact the best match. And with that, I'm very happy to have Steve Kangelis here today to describe how contact center vendors are stepping up to deal with some of these trends that I talked about, some of these new user expectations. So over to you, Steve.
Excellent. Thanks, Kevin. So as Kevin went through it, an excellent presentation. That was great. My name is Stephan Kangelis, and I'm going to be going through some of the functions that have been used within ICE to address some of the trends that Kevin's mentioned in his presentation. First off, just a quick background about Computer Talk. Approximately almost 30 years now, our CEO, Mandel Chung, started this business in a basement apartment. And he started off on the IVR side, and from IVR saw the connection between IVR and contact center. And from there, he kind of saw the need to help organizations set up and run more effective contact centers. And of course, at the time, they weren't called contact centers, they were called call centers. Because as Kevin indicated in the past, the phone was king. Calls were king. Now, over those years, we've helped customers across all kinds of different verticals, innovating and improving their customer service throughout the solutions that we offer. The core product that we offer is called ICE, and I'll go into exactly what that encompasses. But basically, more recently, it's more of a all-in-one, multimodal Skype for Business and Lync native contact center, which gives you the ability to use whatever it is you currently have in place and completely agnostic to whether it's a PBX or anything in the background that you'd like to use as part of your solution. We've been pretty good at integrating with pretty much anything. We currently have offices in Chicago, Paris, Montreal, Richmond Hill, and we're actually expanding to other areas in Europe. We've spoken about the different forms of media that you might deal with the outside world. In the beginning, voice was everywhere, and it was mainly just call centers that we were providing. But now it really goes across everything, and you look at the different channels that the millennials and digital natives that Kevin was mentioning is really key to this transition to using all different forms of communication. And ensuring that your contact center can meet the needs of those customers, we've allowed for the ability to really communicate with your contact center in any of those forms. So the majority of our deployments are actually across instant messaging, obviously email, and then beyond that, some of the social media and Skype, which is kind of a new trend because we haven't seen too many video calls getting queued up yet, but we have had quite a bit of traction in that area recently. Now, the ability to switch between media channels is inherent within ICE, and it allows customers and agents to interact in the channel that really makes the most sense to them. For example, if you have a call that's happening, you can actually escalate it. You can have web chat with your support staff and have that get escalated to a call, or if you want to transition it to an email, all of that is available within ICE. The really cool thing is that all of the information and the breadth of information and reporting that's available to you is available within each interaction. And that's what really separates ICE from the rest of the field. Now, you might be asking yourself what ICE stands for. And ICE actually stands for Intelligent Communication Exchange. And as I said, it's an all-in-one contact center solution that includes multimedia queuing, interaction to third-party integrations, and surveys and alerts, reporting, analytics, all of the above. And these features are essential to internal, B2B, and B2C contact centers today. So it's important that you select the vendor that can provide the right communication tools. Now, we have just a quick slide here showing some of the customers that we've worked with. And I'm just going to get into a couple of these. We are the vendor of record within a lot of the major governments within Canada. So whether it's BC, whether it's the BC government or the federal government as well, obviously the vendor of record within the Ontario government for a very long time. And some of the applications that we've built within those organizations are pretty in-depth. And I'll just go through a couple. So within the Canadian government, within the Department of Foreign Affairs, we're currently doing the Consular Services Group. And what they do within their contact center is if at any point there's some type of issue around the world, whether it's a tsunami heading towards Japan or an earthquake, and I'll knock on wood so that's not happening right now. But basically, we want to offer them the ability to increase the number of staff that they have taking calls at any time. And it's because it's an emergency, that 800 number that you see on CNN to call as a Canadian abroad, we allow them to increase the number of agents with a phone call within a 2-hour span so that they can go from 50 agents to 150 agents with one phone call, and then allow them to handle the increased volume of calls for that specific group. They've recently added instant messaging to their service, so you can actually go to the website now and click to chat. And another example is they've also used email to allow for different publications to be issued out to their customers. Within the feds, right now we're doing the Elections Canada call center. So if you're calling in, you've probably seen a lot of those advertisements on TV with the number to call if you have any Elections Canada questions or questions about voting, you'll actually be reaching the ICE solution that Elections Canada implemented. So a lot of different customers on here, and I'd be happy to get into any additional information about anybody you see on here, maybe in the question and answer period. So if you see anybody on there that you'd like to dive a little deeper into, just ask your question in the question box. The next slide is a quick overview of some of the third-party integrations and some of the third-party companies that we've worked with in the past. Now, this is really a pretty large list, but basically everything from workforce management to CRM to speech analytics to speech recording or screen recording and voice recording, whether it's DB integration, PBXs, and a bunch of different Microsoft products. All of these different customers are people that we've integrated with in the past and have a lot of experience doing so. And it's really, the reason that we put this slide up here is because the contact center is really the gateway to your organization. And different customers have different wants and needs from whether it's existing software that they're using or they enjoy using a specific type of CRM that they want to continue using. All of those integrations are done very seamlessly within the ICE suite. And the reason for that is because we have a universal CRM connector that allows you to integrate very easily with the applications that run right off your desktop. So I've just quickly gone through it, but if you have any questions around what we've done with any of the third-party icons that you see on the screen right now, I'd be happy to get into what we're doing with each of them in more depth later on in the presentation. Now with ICE moving to the Skype for Business side of things and the whole Lync native Skype for Business contact center, is that you can leverage your existing deployment. If you're net new to Skype for Business, we're able to do a full deployment from scratch, and you're able to take advantage of the entire suite. And we can either host the entire thing for you or do an on-prem deployment. And on top of that, you have the ability to leverage the full ICE functionality that sits on top of Skype for Business, which allows you to use the contact center features that are really required across most organizations today. Now, Kevin mentioned earlier that people are increasingly going to get in touch with your company through Skype for Business. They'll have the expectation that they can also use video, screen sharing, application sharing capabilities that come with all of those clients. And when they can't use the tools they're used to using, there's a negative impact on customer experience. When you use a Lync native contact center, you can open up all of these features for your customers. So everybody will have the ability to use the features that they love and that they're used to using. ICE is really a big player in this space, as well as someone who's a differentiator to any competitors, is that when you're selecting a vendor, a lot of the Lync contact center vendors came to the market with Lync experience, but with absolutely no contact center experience. And that's really the thing that separates us, is because we've been working within the contact center world for almost 30 years, and we've been working with Microsoft for almost a decade now. The transition from contact center to using Lync has been a lot more seamless than we've seen across the rest of the market, where you have Lync expertise and then you try and get into contact center. Although folks might not think that contact center and call centers are that complex, it actually takes a lot to understand where contact center is going and what it can do for your organization. The next pieces are more around what it is we're doing from an ICE perspective. So just a quick overview of some of the features and functionality that come with the ICE contact center. The first piece is the toolbar. Now this is really the user interface that all of the agents within a contact center would contact and communicate with the outside world. So the toolbar is really an application that sits on your desktop today, and in future we're looking to have a web-based version of this. Actually, it's being developed as we speak and currently in the testing phases. This toolbar is really what any normal phone will give you with call display, with a bunch of extra information. So it'll give you contact details, everything from the queue that the call is coming into to who's trying to contact you if all of that information is passed through the network, across to all of the features and functionality that you might have on the toolbar that you can see on the screen there with the buttons functionality. And then on top of that, you also have the ability to view states and statistics within the toolbar to give you a little bit of ownership as an agent over the queues that you're assigned to. Now, I've talked about how we're handling calls. This is also the same interface that you're using to handle every type of media form that might come into your contact center. So if you're handling instant messages or emails or voicemails in queue, video calls, all of the above, it all comes through ICE Bar. And that's really what ties the entire contact center together. The next piece of the tool and ICE as a whole is the monitoring suite. Now, the monitoring suite is really a great view to see all kinds of real-time information about pretty much anything your agents are doing across the board, regardless of where they're sitting. So today we have all kinds of contact centers within Canada and really around the world where a lot of the agents are sitting in different locations. And the ability to go into one interface and see exactly what Bob and Bill are doing in Vancouver when you're sitting in Toronto or Ottawa as a supervisor is paramount. And the ability to view what it is they're doing, if you want them handling different types of calls or you want to switch them to a different queue, this is where you would do that. You'd go in and you'd be able to see exactly what it is that's going on within your contact center on that particular day. Now, above and beyond this, you can go in and have the ability to view all kinds of additional information using the reporting tools within the integrated viewer. Now, from that perspective, there are over 100 standard time-based reports that are available to you where you can go in and you can pick and choose the information that you want displayed. And that allows managers to be able to send out these reports at the end of the week or every day to a variety of managers all in one shot and have them scheduled so that all of this information is available to whoever it is that needs it within the organization. And this really stems to the reason for this slide, and that's really allowing for you to plan from a business perspective what it is that you need to do to better serve your customers. And this is really the tool that allows for that. Now the next slide that I'm going to be getting into is really the power of the product. And I usually, when providing a demonstration of these different tools within ICE, I always refer to the workflow designer as the power of ICE, the power of the product. And the reason for that is because when thinking about putting a contact center in place, you start off with business requirements and you determine what your ROI might be, why you need to put something in place to better serve your customers at the front end, and then figuring out how you want to communicate to those customers using agents. Now, when you create your business requirements, you then pass that information on to a project manager, for example. And all of that information gets gathered and we create a design to really meet the needs that you have as an organization. From that, we pass that information to a developer that uses the workflow designer to build your call flow and your contact flow from the ground up. And the reason that I always call it the power of the product is because the same tool that our developers are using to give you that contact center experience and that full multi-channel view is available to the administrators and supervisors within the organizations that use ICE. And this tool is really a graphical user interface that gives you the ability to drag and drop actions onto a canvas and build your call flow, build your contact flow. So whether it's setting up DB interactions or setting up a dialogue state engine for speech recognition, all the way down to setting up a very simple front-end IVR or auto attendant that then routes to queue. It's all done within one tool. And then jumping over to the multimodal side of things, in the same page that you create a call flow, you can create an email flow. You can create an IM flow. You can create, as I said, speech rec. All of it is done within that one tool, and it allows you to really administrate your entire contact center across the board. I've been working in the industry for a decade now, and it really is a differentiator in the contact center world, the ICE workflow designer. Next thing, just from what you've seen today, and I think we're jumping through these slides a little quick, but basically, if you've seen anything that you'd like to dive a little deeper into, or you have any additional questions about, please visit the following. I believe we have a website that's on one of the slides that you can go to for a demonstration, or we can pass along within the chat so that you can schedule a demo if you'd like to see additional information or any of the new features that are coming available. We'd be happy to schedule that demo with you to get into additional information. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Kevin.